The price of oil has hit $90 a barrel for the first time in nearly 2 years. Comes after Qatar's energy minister warned that he expects all oil and gas exporters in the Gulf to stop production within days. About a fifth of the world's oil supply is usually shipped through the Strait of Hormuz each day. But traffic through the narrow passage has all but halted since the war began. The conflict is causing an increase in gas prices as well. For more on how the war in Iran is affecting oil prices, I'm joined by Heather Exner-Pirot. She is a senior fellow and a director of energy, natural resources and environment at the Macdonald Laurier Institute. Heather, it's good to have you on the show.
Yeah, great to be here.
So you say that the disruption to oil production abroad could benefit Canada in both the short term and maybe the longer term. Why do you think so?
Well, I mean, no one wants to benefit off of war, but Canada is an oil exporter. And obviously, with increased prices, we'll capture some more royalties and revenues and taxes. And so that's the short term. Obviously, some consumers will feel the pain, but I'm more interested in what's going to happen in the medium term. Obviously, Carney has been abroad in Asia many times, trying to pitch increased trade, trying to double non-U.S. trade. Energy has usually started those conversations. And I think if you're an Asian importer right now looking at the situation, Canada just keeps getting more and more attractive.
Okay, can Canada, meet, or do we have the capacity to meet that increased or maybe new demand?
So obviously in the short term, there's a reason why there's supply shocks because no one can compensate for what goes through the Strait of Hormuz. You are seeing some more call. You'll probably see Trans Mountain fill up very close to capacity. We're starting to see the differentials or the price between a Canadian crude, WCS, and the Western Texas Intermediate narrow. So we are producing or we are shipping as much as we can, and the price is calling for more of that. In the medium term, obviously, we're looking at two things. One is an expansion of LNG capacity. There's two projects that are already approved that we're just waiting for that final investment decision. I think there would be more Asian interest. I think there's probably more likelihood even that those two do reach that FID, that some Asian buyers say, yes, we want to, pull the trigger and commit to those long-term contracts. And then the other one is first expansion of Trans Mountain, adding a couple 100,000 barrels there. But obviously the big Northwest Coast oil pipeline that has been the subject of much negotiation between Alberta and Canada.
Yeah, that was where I was going to go next, asking you about how you think this debate or this perhaps increased need might affect that debate on a possible new pipeline.
Yeah. So if you're Carney, I mean, you're not just trying to sell more things. Obviously, you want to export more and get more revenues, but you're also trying to bolster your alliances. And there's nothing that bolsters an alliance quite like being an energy provider for someone that you want, to be your friend and your ally. And so I think Carney is incented to want to be that answer, that solution for those Asian importers. They obviously, the beauty of the Canadian crude is it goes across the North Pacific, does not go through any bottlenecks. It does not go through any conflict zones. It's going to be a reliable source of supply as long as you have it. But the pipeline is obviously going to be expensive. And so to back that up, to get the financing for it, you have to know that there's some buyers on the other end that are going to commit to it for the long haul and maybe even invest in some either upstream production or the pipeline. Again, I think this crisis, as much as it's causing a lot of misery and pain, is probably beneficial for, the people thinking about, is it worth building that Canadian pipeline or not?
Right, so it may be making the argument that they have been, or helping to make the argument that they have maybe been making for some time. Let's hope this crisis is short-lived, right? Let's hope that this doesn't continue. But do you see long-term deals? Do you see those long-term deals coming about because something like this has happened? And is it a wake-up call, I guess?
Yeah, if anything, it's a wake-up call. So we have a short-term price spike. It's, over $90. I think the general consensus, it'll probably go over $100, and then who knows from there. But this is likely to be short-lived. At some point in the next, I would say for sure 2 or 3 months, you expect this some resolution, certainly to the oil problem. So this is more about that we just happen to live in more geopolitically fraught times. This is the second oil shock in 4 years, and so you might reasonably expect that it's not going to be the last oil shock that we're going to be facing in this decade. And so again, just Canada does look comparatively where you're maybe in a situation where you might pay a premium to lower your energy risk. You might value energy security a little bit more than just simply the lowest price. Canada's looking like a pretty good source of oil, I would say, compared to some other potential suppliers.
Heather Exner-Pirot, Senior Fellow and Director of Energy, Natural Resources and Environment at the Macdonald Laurier Institute. Thanks so much for your time.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thank you.